Hello, everybody. Hello, how are you doing? It is a sweaty day here in Ohio. Um, pretty, uh, pretty hot out today, and it rained, but it didn't rain enough. It just rained enough not to push the heat down, but to kind of fill the air with more moisture, and so there's a lot of humidity, and it's kind of miserable out here right now. But that's okay. Um, Welcome back to the Saturday Spiritualist. I know I didn't do anything last week. I had to take a night off. A member of my household wasn't feeling too good, and I had to take care of them. But tonight, tonight we're back at it, and I picked something that I was kind of interested in because I hadn't actually given it a whole lot of thought, and I learned something, and I hope we can all learn something from this, just like every episode. Um, when you watch like paranormal shows and anything like that, and when you get into spiritual experimentation and getting into like ritual activity and things like that, something that always seems to come up is spiritual attachment. And what that is, and I'm not a huge, I'm not huge into this, but I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But what it is by doing certain activities or dealing with certain forces, I suppose, um, you run the risk of getting what's called, sorry, there's a fly in my house, it keeps attacking my ear. You run the risk of a spiritual attachment, which is a spirit that comes up like a spirit or entity or energy being that basically attaches itself to you and feeds off of your energy or manipulates your energy or does something, and you can carry that with you. If you've gone to a place as a paranormal investigator, you can pick something up and take it back to where you live or to where you hang out the most, and then it can start inhabiting that space. Um, Now, me, I'm still undecided on where I stand as far as actual like spirits and things go. I think mostly it's impressions, and I think it's like leftover energies. Um, but I do think that we can pick up different energy vibrations, different places, because everything in the universe is energy, right? Like all matter is just energy condensed into a slow vibration, as as a certain comedian once said, and was then sampled into a Tool song. Um, so everything's energy, and I'm a big believer in how energy interacts and how you can manipulate energy for your own benefit, and how you can be manipulated by energy to your own detriment sometimes. And negative and positive energy are definitely a thing. It's not so simple as saying negative is bad and positive is good. They're both necessary parts of an energy spectrum, an energy balance. Um, and negative doesn't have to mean bad, and positive doesn't have to mean good, because sometimes positive energy is a bad thing. I tried to classify these things once in my own personal perspective, um, and I saw basically positive energy are things that are active, that cause changes, like heat and light and things like that. Like fire would be an example of positive energy because it does things, and fire can be both helpful as heat, and it can be also harmful because it can burn your house down, as it did to me in the early 90s when I was a kid. True story. But negative energy is passive energy. Negative energy just is there, but you're affected by it. Cold, darkness, things that exist as a lack of something. Cold is a lack of heat. Darkness is a lack of light. These things still affect you on an energetic level. Doesn't mean that they're bad. You like your ice cream cold, right? And in a movie theater, you probably want everything else to be dark, right? We sleep more better when it's dark out, unless you're like out there in the forest and you're afraid of the dark and things like that. But in your house, you have your lights off, right? Semantics. But situational. I know lots of S's in this one. But so yeah, I'm a big believer in energy, and I think you can go to places that have an energy that is not helpful, that could be potentially harmful, and it could interact with you in a way, and you could carry some of that with you. So what do you do if that happens? What if you happens if you have a spiritual attachment? Um, Commonly in the paranormal and spiritual community, you burn white sage, not just any sage, not the sage you get at the grocery store to put on your food. A specific kind of sage called white sage, which apparently has been around for a long time, used by the Native Americans in smoke rituals and things. And and I wasn't sure why. Like, when you deal with certain off spiritualities, when you deal with things like Left Hand Path or with Wicca or whatever, there's a lot of associations. Like, quartz is associated with this and that and certain qualities, and the moon is associated with different metals, and it's all about associations. So you try to do different things to invoke all these different forces because they're all connected together. It's all connections, and we talked about that earlier on, as far as ritual behavior in my earlier episodes. But I didn't know what the deal was with sage, and I tried looking it up, and all I could find were just multiple sources that says, "Oh yeah, sage cleanses. It does this. It's good for your attitude and all kinds of things." But I couldn't find out why. Was it just because somebody in the past decided that and it became that way? Um, or what did it do that made people believe that? So hang on. So I looked into it, and believe it or not, there's actually a scientific explanation, which is great for me because I'm all about the science in my spirituality. I like science in my spirituality. I'm not into like Scientology, because that's being weird with science in your spirituality, I think. No offense. But there's actually some science behind this. And before I get to that, the specific thing that you do with sage, and it's white sage, like I said, not like what you get at the grocery store for cooking. It's called smudging. You have a bundle of this white sage, dried, and you light it, and you let it smoke, and you carry the smoke around your house. And some people say things, they're like, "Hey, unclean spirits, get out of my house. I cleanse this space," something like that. And most of that is just personal theater for yourself. As I mentioned in my earliest episodes of this series, part of ritual magic, etc., is fooling the brain. It's convincing the brain that things are happening by using drama and theatrics and things. And some people need that, and some people don't. Like, I don't really need that. I don't go around with sage bundles thinking, "I cleanse this space," because to me, I don't need to say anything. If I'm going to do that, I'm just like, "Hey, you know what? This is going to help." And I wasn't sure, as I said, why it would help. But scientifically, it has to do with ions, specifically negative ions, which is an example of good things coming from negativity. Negative negative ions apparently are good for your mood. It's like a charge in the air, and it's something that your brain can pick up. And let me make sure I'm looking at here. Well, here's positive icons. I keep saying icons. Positive ions first are created in environments that house electronic devices, and they can increase stress and trigger allergies and other ailments. Negative ions, which are naturally high at places like a beach or a park where it's wide open, have an antidepressant and healthy effect. And so burning sage increases the negative ions and reduces positive ions in the air. So if you have a house that has a lot of EMF, like you use a lot of electronic devices, I do. And that could be why sometimes I'm super just frantic all about the house all the time. And this can help even out those EMF levels a little bit. It's not perfect. A study or a thesis suggested in a 2016 University of Mississippi study, suggested that white sage is rich in compounds that activate certain receptors in the brain responsible for elevating mood levels, reducing stress, and even alleviating pain. Very interesting. Now I know what sage does. There's a concrete reason for it. And now you know what sage does. Now, the important thing to note is you can't just walk around and for like 10 minutes, just be like, here, sage, 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 we're good. The sage smoke has to be in the air for at least an hour to make a difference on your body and things like that. It has to be a concentration of it. Okay. And so one of the things you can do if you think you're dealing with spiritual attachments, negative or whatever negative energies, you can burn the sage, and scientifically it is supposed to help. Now, am I going to start probably doing more sage stuff? I don't know. I don't know if I really need to or not. Maybe I'll try it a couple times. I haven't done much with it, I'll be honest. That's why I was kind of startled to learn about this science behind it. It was pretty great. Science and spirituality should go hand in hand, to be honest, I think. One should support the other. And so you can go around, you can get white sage from Amazon. Even you can get it a lot of places, but you can get it from Amazon, or if you have like a local store that carries that kind of thing. I don't know of any place around here that does, but it's possible, you know. But if you think you have spiritual attachments, you can do that. You can also, and this I'm kind of skeptical about this next part, but you can hire someone. You can hire a self-described medium or a person who of a religious background who deals with these kinds of things, and they will probably come in with their own sage. So I mean, that's something you can do on your own. But if you want an expert, quote unquote, to do it, you can have someone come in. I don't know what the going rates on that kind of stuff is, and I know a few people who are friends who say they have medium abilities, and you know what? I believe them. That's fine. I don't. I'm not big into that as much, because I think some of that is just drama and some of that is just overthinking and whatnot. But I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. I don't know for sure how they feel or how they get what goes on in their head. So, and most of the people that I know that get into that aren't going out like Long Island Medium and charging people thousands of dollars and having these big events and whatnot and all on the cameras and TV. So if you have somebody who says they're a medium and you don't know them personally, like have known them for a great period of time, then I would be careful, because there are a lot of people who say they have abilities and say they have things, and then they don't. Maybe they do, but it's big business these days. New Age spirituality is big business, just as anything else is. So be careful. But if you find somebody that you can trust to do it, you can have somebody come in and they can do the proper rituals or smudging or whatnot. And that's also useful if you don't necessarily believe that you have the mindset for it. Like if you're somebody like me who's going to be kind of skeptical about the whole process, or who's just going to rely 100% on the scientific part and might not, account for any sort of actual spiritual things, then you might help to have somebody come in and do that for you. Someone who's more of an expert, who knows what they're doing. And that's a good suggestion, I think. Smudging. Now, I've done different things around here. When my daughter was very young, she had a lot of nightmares and things like that. She just felt like there was, things in her room, as kids sometimes do. And I don't know if there actually were or not. Like, I don't feel those kinds of things. I don't feel presences, really. I don't, I don't see ghosts. I've never seen Bigfoot. It's never. It doesn't mean I'm not going to, and I'm not closing myself off to the possibility. I'm not saying that those things just don't exist, but I don't have any connection to it. I don't have anything like that. But so what I did was we placed like a big thing, I think of quartz or something similar to quartz, something specific above her door frame, to ward things out, or in a scientific way to have change the energy a little bit. And I went around the room to every corner, and I drew invisible lines, and I used, what did I use? I had some kind of a liquid that I mixed up, some kind of a tincture based on, this is supposed to make you feel good, and this is supposed to drive away bad influences, and this is supposed to do whatever. And I don't remember what the recipe was. It was something I came up with on the spot from some research. It doesn't mean that it was haphazard. It was just like, oh, I just threw some things together and we used that, and that's fine. I did some research on it. I remember I did some things, and I remember walking around the room, putting my own willpower out there, and not really trying to communicate with things, but just using my own personal energy to push out other energies. To be like, nope, this is my space. This is my daughter's space. This is not anything else's space. Push it out. Go. And it seemed to help. And I've done things like that before. I've done a couple of things, not for other people, usually just here at home. I don't go out and charge stuff and make money off it, because I don't even know if it really honestly works. I just know sometimes it's made a difference here, and so I keep it up every so often, just here. I don't want to go out and do something for other people, and then, oh, it didn't work at all, we want our money back, or we want this, or you're a piece of trash. I'm not into that kind of thing. I'm I've been saying that a lot. Do you know? Maybe you don't. So I'm here to help you. Here to tell you. Uh, I get into these things. I don't know. But so you can use the sage, or you can use just pure concentration, and just walk around in space and be like, whatever's in here, out, 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 out. Some people find it easier if they put a name or a face to whatever the force is. I don't know. Again, I'm on the outs about whether or not it's actually truly a spirit or a being or an entity or whatever. But your personal beliefs may vary, and I will not invalidate them. You believe what you like, and if what works for you works, keep on doing it. So there you have it. There's the background on sage, smudging, spiritual attachments. I know some heavily religious people look more into things like exorcisms and things, and they think they're demon possession, and I don't know. I can't speak on that because I really don't know. I've read a lot of accounts. I've seen The Exorcist and things like that, but you know, you know, stop saying that. Anyway. But I don't know. I think it's all energy. I think it's all energy, and different things can cause the energy in a space to be out of balance. And there's ways we can deal with that. We can either change up our floor plan, do some feng shui, and maybe get the airflow better, because that can help. Just getting better airflow or better movement through your house, having less clutter, having a cat that doesn't constantly scream at you all day. That's been part of my trouble today. But you can do different things. You can do feng shui. You can lessen the number of electronic things you have running at any given moment to lower the EMFs. There's things you can do to lower the fields naturally without really relying on a spiritual thing. But if you've done all that and you're still having some trouble, then try some sage. Do some spiritual ritualistic things and just go at it from there. Because I think that'll help. And do not do anything that Mr. Zach Baggins suggests you do, because he's out for money. He's not out for helping anyone. He wants to make money, and he wants to make customers. Okay? Mr. Zach Baggins is ridiculous. Have you ever seen any of his most recent stuff? Oh my gosh. He's constantly being possessed and this and that. Oh, goodness. Ghost Adventures? No. No. Okay, so that's it. Good episode. What do we have coming up the rest of the week? Tomorrow is Sunday, so nothing there so far. Potentially, the Uncanny Spirits Club may move to Sundays because Rob was talking about doing his more religion themed show, kind of like this, but like a, you know, from the opposite perspective, um, on Thursdays. And if he decides on Thursdays for sure, then I'm going to move the Uncanny Spirits Club to Sundays so that we don't have any clashes, any, you know, crossing of the streams and things like that. But he hasn't said for sure. I have to get back to him on that at some point. And but so far Sunday's clear. Monday, this coming Monday, as of this live episode, if you're watching this on demand after the fact, then of course it's all old and all done. But as of right now, on this episode, Monday is the return of Let's Talk About This, the podcast that everybody loves, where I talk about whatever random inane stuff comes into my head. And it's the start of season two of Let's Talk About This. Another 20 episodes for your listening pleasure. What am I going to talk about? Peanut butter. You heard it here first, folks. Peanut butter. And Tuesdays, Twitch Tuesday, I'll be playing some Twitch streams. Wednesdays, free and clear. Thursday currently is Uncanny Spirits Club if it doesn't get switched. And Friday is another episode of This Uncanny Earth. We postponed yesterday. Rob had a bit of a thing going on. No big deal. He's okay. He's, you know, he's not in the hospital or anything like that. It's just, you know, things happen. And I don't want to put out his personal business and tell you what exactly it was because that's his business, of course. But so we postponed that and we'll be back on Friday. At some point, I believe there's supposed to be an episode of just me again. I don't know if it's this Friday or the next Friday. I don't remember. Kind of vague on the details, as per usual. But then there's another episode of this show. And this series will probably be ending relatively soon because I'm running short on things to talk about. And I don't want to just dig up things just to talk about specifically, just to talk about them, because that's what my audio podcast is for. It's for silly things. I don't want this show to get silly. This is about serious things that are supposed to help you. So we'll see how many episodes I've still got left in me for that and go from there. So that's the whole schedule. That's everything. And hope you've enjoyed. Until next time, of course, as I always say in this series, be well.